Hi everyone, welcome to the last episode of I'd Quit But I'm Broke Season 2, brought to you by Student Beans.
We hope you enjoyed last episode. Today, we are speaking to Chelsea Tucker, a data scientist, coder and digital artist who uses art to demystify maths. Matt, I know you're doing a maths degree. How'd you find it?
I probably like it a little bit less every day. I think that's the same with all degrees. But no, I've always been a much more mathsy person than kind of words and speaking and writing. It's never really been a bit of me. But I've always been quite good with numbers. How about yourself?
I'm the total opposite. I'm much more wordsy. English was one of my favourite subjects. I took it at A-level. And maths was the one, I didn't dread maths because I liked my teachers and things, but yeah, I wasn't the best at it. And I found it just not as exciting as the other lessons. I think there's kind of like a thing where some people are more left brain kind of orientated and some are more right brain. I can't remember which way is which, but one's more numerical, logistical. The other one's more like wordsy and creative. So I think we use opposite sides of our brains more dominantly.
Well, I've got no idea about that. But it'll be really interesting to see Chelsea's insight on it, really.
Yeah, maybe I think she's probably a bit of both with the creativity and the art and then the maths. So she probably uses half and half.
Oh, yeah, very true. Well, I think we should probably welcome our guest for the day, Chelsea Tucker.
Hi, Chelsea.
Hello.
Nice to have you here today.
I know, thank you very much for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. We're really happy to have you here. So for any of our listeners that might not know you or what you get up to, do you want to just explain a bit about yourself?
Yeah, Chelsea, Northern, loud and proud probably. I'm a data scientist, so I spend a lot of my day on the computer, coding, doing maths things, and then in my spare time, I do a lot of artwork, digital art, and I'm also really into extreme sports and things. So I do kite surfing, bit of longboarding, snowboarding, skiing. I just love sport, and got to add in Formula One as well. I absolutely love Formula One.
I've got to ask quickly, are you Verstappen or Hamilton?
No, I know it. I don't even know why I'm faltering. I'm Verstappen. I love the underdog story. But we're new season now, so technically Verstappen is not the underdog and Hamilton is. So I'm like, maybe I should switch sides.
I'm Verstappen as well. So before we jump into your job and your history, we like to get our guests at ease with some icebreaker questions. So to start with, what was the worst style choice you ever made?
So many. Like, ask me this in a month and I'll say this.
Oh, no.
So I absolutely love orange. That's my favourite colour, and people know me as Chelsea. She loves orange. Got an orange car. My bag over there is orange. You know what I'm saying. Everything's orange. So once I wore an all orange outfit, like as in I had orange jeans, I had orange jumper, I even had the orange beanie hat. I had black shoes actually. It wasn't full orange, but now I'm thinking that might not have been wise.
Sounds like prison overalls.
Yeah.
They thought I probably needed to go in there if they saw me wearing that get-up. Like, we know where she belongs.
So you are a big fan of the phrase orange is the new black then?
Definitely.
Always. Next question. Who was your childhood actor/actress crush?
Ooh, right, I've got two.
Oh.
Sorry, I'm going rogue.
No, go
right,
for
because
it.
I've gone cartoon, but also normal.
We had a cartoon one the other week.
That's what made me think about it. I was like, right, so I blooming loved Robin Hood. I don't know why. That's just like, something about Robin Hood.
Is Robin Hood the fox in the animated
Yes,
one?
he is.
Oh, okay, just checking it
Foxy
was
guy.
the fox,
What's it
yeah.
actually?
In the Robin Hood animated, they're all
Oh,
animals.
yeah, I'm looking at it now. I can see him.
But then human version, right, I might be showing my age here, but there was a film called The Secret Garden when I was younger, and there was a guy, a young boy in that. I actually don't know his name, but I just thought it was amazing. And then he was in the making of Black Beauty, the horse one. I mean, people will be thinking it's in black and white. It probably was back then. No, it won't. But, it was a long time ago. People don't know him, but in my head, I remember.
He was the one.
He was the one.
Who
Got
stuck
away.
with you? If you were a wrestler, what would your entrance song be?
Oh, this is a brilliant question. I just love the Pokemon theme tune, I'm going to be honest.
They got
I
to
want
catch
to be
them
the
all.
very best,
Oh, yeah.
like no one ever was. I feel like I could get behind that walking down.
Yeah, that's unique as well.
I don't know if it is, but I'll go with it. That's what came to mind. Does that say something about me? I don't know.
I actually think that's probably one of the better answers we've had. I'll give you that. And lastly, what is one thing we don't know about you?
I brush my teeth with warm water.
Ugh.
It's just water.
Immediate response.
It's water, warmed up.
I don't like that.
It's the same. I don't like when people drink water from a coffee mug.
No,
That's
is annoying.
controversial. So I would say to that. Do you do that?
No, I don't do that.
No glass, really.
But you should try the hot water toothbrushing. It's a luxury.
No, that's not a bit of me, that.
Hot or warm?
No, just warm. Just warm.
Warm. I can't get behind it, Chelsea. I can't lie.
Have you tried it?
I haven't,
Don't
in all
knock it.
fairness. Maybe I will tonight with my warm toothbrush, lukewarm. I'm going to try
Come
it
here.
out, just for you.
Thank you.
So this next part of the podcast is where we delve into one of your awful jobs. It could be a student job, it could be a graduate job. So yeah, have you got one that springs to mind?
Definitely. Now, I wouldn't say it's awful. I think it taught me some really good lessons. It had some highlights and it had some absolute tragedies, let's say that. So between uni, I decided that I would like to... Look, I always wanted to live in America. I've always loved America. I'm really lucky enough to travel quite a bit of it. But during uni, I decided I wanted to go out there and work there. So one of the not easiest things to do, but the most accessible job was a nanny. So I put my profile up and I decided to be a nanny. I applied for that and I got a job and I worked for a family in New York. And it was interesting. So the highlights would be, I got to live in Manhattan. I then lived in the Hamptons. So it was split. A month in the Hamptons, a month in Manhattan, and a month or so around Europe. So absolutely amazing place to be, and I feel so privileged for being allowed to do it. The trauma side was I worked for a very powerful lady who demanded a lot of things. So, for instance, squeezing 24 oranges in the morning so that her and her family could have fresh orange juice. I don't remember agreeing to that, but anyway. And then I had other, I suppose it's just human friction, I suppose, that I had. So I had a bit of a wobble with a grandparent. So when I was younger, my house got burgled and they actually came upstairs. And since then, I've always been a bit funny about just people breaking into houses and just irrational thoughts and things like that. And when I was staying at the house in the Hamptons, I would go around, make sure all the doors and all the windows were locked. It wasn't an area that I knew, so I think I was more vigilant probably. And the grandma came to live with me and the daughter that I was looking after. And she didn't really believe she didn't like aircon, which is fair enough. She thought it was the devil. That's fine. So she didn't believe in aircon. She just wanted all the doors and windows open. I was like, that's fine, love, crack on. But at night, she wanted to keep the doors and windows open. And obviously, after what I've just said, I was like, no. This doesn't sit well with me. So I would wait till she went to bed and I would go around and lock all the windows, lock all the doors, go back to my room, and then I'd hear her walking along the corridor with a walking stick, bless her, opening them all up, and it was just this constant battle. And in the end, it just became this awful friction. And I remember being at the kitchen table one morning, and she'd said something, and I sort of rolled my eyes at the little girl. As I turned, I rolled my eyes, and the little girl was like, "Chelsea, why did you just roll your eyes?" And I'm like, "Oh God, it's just gonna get worse." So yeah, a bit of an overview there. That was one of the best and the worst jobs. Very interesting, but also, tough at times.
I can imagine.
So how long does it take to squeeze 24 oranges?
Too long. That's what, Matt. Too long. At least I had no better to do, but I just thought they had a lot of money. They lived on the Upper East Side, Gossip Girl style. I'm like, you can buy a machine to squeeze these, not a person. A long time. I should say I am very grateful to that family, and but yeah, there was. You can say it. There was heated discussions sometimes.
Oh, so it wasn't just the passive-aggressive closing of the windows. Did it actually spill into something a bit more confrontational?
Yes, so there was one time where this was when I was in Europe at this point. And so the daughter I was looking after, her mom lived in New York, the dad lived in Europe. And in the last part of the job, I went and lived in Europe. We arrived at the airport and I got the impression that the dad didn't actually want me there, really. So in the car, we were travelling along and he said, "What would you like for tea?" And I thought he was just talking to the little girl. So I didn't answer and I can't remember what she said. She either started singing or, mumbled something. And then he full on shouted. He was like, "I've just asked you a question. What do you want for tea? You are an adult. I expect an adult response." And I'm just there like, oh, this is how it's going to go. Okay. And I didn't think it was necessary. He could have asked again, second chances and all that. That was really tough then, living in his house. But actually, at the end of the trip, he was lovely, and he said to me, he's like, "Oh, you've been really great, Chelsea." And I think he had presumptions, I had presumptions, and actually after spending some time, that part of the trip was actually the best bit. So yes, there was a heated discussion at some point, but it didn't turn out too bad. I was traumatized by it for 2 days living in his house. I didn't dare come out of my room.
Yeah, I can imagine. Overall, was that the worst part of the job? Some of the treatment you kind of had to deal with?
Yeah, but like I said, there's, I could, at the time, it was like, God, they're treating me like rubbish and things. Actually, it's really humbling. And now, what a brilliant experience. Now, looking back, I'm like, I'm glad I've gone through that stuff. It doesn't make me think I'm better than anyone else.
Oh, that's very nice.
Yeah, that is something kind of, humbling to take away from it. What was the hardest part of looking after a young child?
It might make me sound really awful, but sometimes I just wanted my own space. And I was like, yeah, you play it, you want to play this, you want to do that, but I want to do this. And I don't want it to involve you. And so the hardest part was actually drawing boundaries and saying, yeah, I'm a nanny, but actually I need designated time, like downtime, almost like weekend time. And I never got that, written down in a contract or anything like that. It was something that I had to impose, and I didn't do it from the start. And you set a standard, don't you then? So the little girl's like, "What? Where are you going? What you mean you're shutting that door on me? You're here to be my playmate, So that was quite difficult.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So if you could go and see your old boss now, what would you say to her?
God, there was one point where a necklace went missing. I thought they thought it was me, and I'd love to go back and say, look, it 100% was not me. I didn't take this necklace. I don't even know what the necklace looked like. I think the little girl probably was playing with it, and maybe, she was young at the time. So, there's things like that I would love to go back and say. And then also accept the part that I played and say, I was young. I maybe could have gone about things a little differently, and I would go about those things differently now, and meet them halfway. I would, for sure, take that opportunity.
We always ask our guests, what were you on at the time, and how much would it take for you to go back?
I can't quite remember, but I'm sure I think it was about $300 a week. I thought was decent, and I didn't pay for accommodation. I didn't pay for food. I didn't really pay for anything, so very, very good. I'll squeeze some oranges for that. To go back, I wouldn't ask for anything, just the opportunity to go back. I would love the opportunity to see those people again, and them see me, and just have some good chats and iron a few things out.
Some closure.
I like that, closure. Yeah, I need some closure.
Yeah. And finally, we always ask for a bit of a rating on the job. So if you had to rate the job, 1 being worst job ever, wouldn't recommend it to any student, 5 being really decent student job, where would you go?
5.
Would you really?
Yeah. The bad times have made me who I am. A massive life experience. 5 out of 5 from me. You've always got to pick your highlights, I think.
Yeah.
Find that rainbow, or whatever you want to call it, that silver lining. At the time, if you'd asked me at the time when I'd just come back, got off that flight, I'd have said, don't send me back. on reflection now. I'm older. Don't know if I'm wiser, but I've had
You
time
are
to
wiser.
reflect.
We're going to move on now to listener questions. So we asked listeners of the podcast to ask you some questions, and we got some really good ones sent in. So the first one is, how did you get better at your digital art other than practicing?
Well, there's a bit more to practice than just the doing. I could easily not find time to do my art. And time will never turn up. You make time for what you want. I'm totally stealing this from someone that I absolutely love. He's called Jay Shetty. He brought out the book that's Think Like a Monk. And he says every year you should create something, you should launch something, and you should love something. So every year I say, right, okay, what's the thing that I'm going to create? So that thing of time never shows up. I plan for it. I make time. Not every morning. I'm not going to be one of those people that says every morning I get up and meditate and da. But I try to some mornings get up at 5 and do an hour of my own stuff, my own art, just to practice, to get better, to experiment, that kind of thing.
You've got to put the hours in.
You've got to put the hours in.
Next listener question. I think must be just based off of your computing background. Do you think the impact of NFTs is a good thing or bad?
I have my own NFTs, so I obviously do quite like them. I think the impact is good. I think it's a really, really interesting concept, and it's not just art that's NFTs, actually. I've seen people who have released self-help guides. There's a woman that I follow. She's called Ali K. Miller. She's head of AI startups at Amazon. And she launches sometimes these guides and things like that you could sell on places, I don't know, like Etsy and things. But all she does is she makes them as an NFT. And the crypto, whatever currency it trades in, is donated to such and such charity. And I'm like, well, I think that's brilliant, an ingenious different way of sharing knowledge and doing it for good. So, like I said, I don't know everything about NFTs, but from what I've seen, I think there is some good points.
Me and Grace touched on this one in the intro. Do you believe in the left brain, right brain theory?
I liked that. I have a bit of a theory with this. Often when I talk to people, they'll say like, oh, what do you do? Or what did you do at uni? And I'll say, oh, I did maths. And then immediately it's like the flood doors open. They go, oh, I were rubbish at maths. And I'm like, right, okay. There seems like this general consensus that maths is, you're either good at it or you're bad at it. And there's this polarization of maths and English, say, like what you said. And that you can't be good at both. Like, oh no, talent can't coexist in one person for both of these subjects. It's so sad, really. And the way that people proclaim, oh, I'm rubbish at maths, it's like reaffirming something that they don't need to reaffirm. You know, you might have had not the best teacher. You might have just, might not have just been interested in school. Maybe given time later on in life, you'll find that with the right type of teaching, the right type of teacher and the right environment, you'd absolutely smash maths. I rebel against the left and right brain because I think you could be both. And there's so many people that can be both. And actually the world is crying out for people that do have talent in all those areas.
Wow, what an answer. And finally, what kind of jobs can I do with a maths degree?
There is so many. With a maths degree, it's not specifically about the fact that you're good at maths or given an equation you can solve it or given some kind of theory you can prove it. Maths is more about the skills that you gain from doing that degree. I don't know if you agree, Matt, but it's like just to problem solve, just to be able to approach a problem methodically and maybe even in a creative way. That's what employers want. Would you say the same?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I don't think the answer matters as much as kind of how you get there. I think that's kind of what I was always taught. As long as you can as long as you're working out is fine. Doesn't really matter what the end destination is.
Yeah, exactly. It's those soft skills. So in answer to your question, I think you could actually do any career with a maths degree other than say, like a doctor. You kind of need to study medicine for that. But, like with me, I do data science, but I also went into the oil and gas industry at one point, not really using that much maths. I've had my time in other areas. So I'm part of a reach strand at work, which is race, ethnicity and cultural heritage. And in that, I do marketing basically. But I bring everything I learned to that, and I learned a lot of that stuff from a maths degree.
So it's the transferable skills that allow you to go into any avenue.
See, you said it in like 10 seconds, what I've rambled on about. Yes.
No, because yours was more detailed. That's what we want.
So I want to move on now into kind of the misconceptions of what you do. What do you think they are? What do you think people get wrong about your job?
I think there's a misconception that there's more females getting into careers related to STEM, such as coding. Another misconception is that there's more diverse workforce in STEM and in things like coding, and there's not. So much more needs to be done to make sure that we have a truly diverse workforce in these areas, because there's lots of implications to having a certain type of workforce, especially in artificial intelligence. These are really, really powerful models that can have a huge impact on the world, and there are cases where that impact has been really detrimental, and it's because there wasn't a certain type of person there that could see something wasn't right and ask a certain question. Without having those diverse workforces, they're almost blindsided. But I'm not giving them an excuse by saying blindsided. They created that environment. So I think that's a massive misconception that things are being done, but I don't think they are, and I don't think they're being done quick enough.
What do you think can be done to make it kind of, to, speed up this process of getting these workforces more diverse?
So I think it starts from a young age, investing in young people's learnings. So I'm not the best at it, and there's people out there doing so much more, but one of mine is to create free maths learning content.
So it sounds like quite a slow process to change, whereas obviously technology advances quite quickly. Do you think there's going to be quite a long period of time before those changes are implemented?
The learning of technology, that's quite rapid. The actual gaining those diverse workforces is going to take some time. Things need to speed up and things need to be done ASAP, yesterday.
What is it like for you as a woman in STEM? Were you almost nervous about entering such a male-dominated industry?
When I was younger, I didn't think about it really. My uni sort of year was 50-50. I didn't really notice, a split really. It was actually after uni when I went into my career that I started really seeing a difference between, the ratio was totally not 50-50. It hasn't been difficult because I haven't acknowledged it, but now when I reflect at things, I realise things have happened and I might have had to prove myself a bit more. I might have had to work a bit harder. I don't have to just be good at coding. I have to be good at, I'm a good female coder. I have to be not just good, I have to be better than the men. It's a really good question, that, and it's one that I always stumble on because I'm always thinking, you're just whining. Do you actually experience difficulties? But yeah.
No, but you're right, because sometimes it's not always blindingly obvious, is it?
No.
So I understand how you, on reflection, you notice it, but not always in the moment.
Yeah.
So I want to move into more your own career journey now. So you mentioned how you did a maths degree, and obviously with the au pairing, and then you mentioned that you went into oil and gas. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Before I go into that, I need to rewind a bit and say I actually started out studying fine art. I studied at Goldsmiths University in London, and I just wanted to be this crazy artist. However, I went to Goldsmiths, and it just didn't sit right for me. I was in a big city coming from the north. I had a 1 hour lecture a week. 1 hour. I was paying, not as much as you pay these days, but I was paying quite a bit. And it was lonely. I'm not talking, there wasn't many people around me. It was a lonely place to be. And even though I loved the artwork and things like that, I decided it wasn't right for me. And so I changed to go study maths. And it's something that I always say to people, one of the best decisions of my life was to quit. And I think that's something really important. Quitting is absolutely brilliant. It's going, this isn't doing anything for me, or this isn't right for me, and going, so I'm going to change it and I'll quit. And so that's what I did. And I went to study, I studied maths at Leeds. I did my degree and I did my master's in maths. I just loved it at Leeds. So I decided to do another master's, and I noticed this master's, and it was in exploration geophysics, which sounds really fancy. It's not. All it is being trained to find oil. Yeah, so I pursued that, and then I got my internship, and I came back down to London. I was happy with London then, everything was good. And just like usual me, oil industry crashed that year. Oh. Brilliant. So all the jobs went. Oil was not rare, and I was trained to find oil. So, my internship didn't end in a job, which I'm kind of happy about now, because I am a save the whales kind of girl. Like, actually, I think I wouldn't have lasted long. So I fell back on my maths skills and decided to go into the world of data. So I became an analyst, and then just worked my way from there. So handling data, building models from data, like these models would be quite general, linear models, and then eventually worked my way to more complicated models such as machine learning, deep learning, which is kind of what data science is all about. But I've always tried to keep my art side carrying on, which is why I try to keep up with the digital stuff, do my marketing and that in my job as well. And I don't want to let go of both, so I try and keep it.
That's nice. You're just trying to stay on top of both your hobby and your job, I guess.
Yeah.
So give us a little bit of a rundown. What's a day in the life of being a data scientist?
Okay. It does vary quite a lot. And I'm not going to lie and say every day is fancy. It's not. Maybe I'll give you a bit of a real life and a bit of a nice life. So reality, I work from home now, which I do enjoy. So I get up. I work agile. So the first meeting of the morning is a stand-up where all the team get together. We say what we did yesterday, what we're doing today, is there any blockers, and that kind of make sure everyone's up and running, make sure everyone's accountable, we all know what we're working on. And then it can be a case of, I could have meetings till lunchtime or even past lunchtime, which is things like getting updates on the business, getting updates on what the rest of the teams are doing. And then I might have a bit of time to catch up on work, which could be modelling, or it could just be cracking away in Excel. I spend so much time in Excel. So it's not like, it's never look rosy and I'm there, coding all the time. Sometimes I'm working in Python. Sometimes, for people who will know, like spinning up a Jupyter notebook on AWS, which is Amazon's cloud. But then sometimes I'm literally just in Excel doing the equals substitute function, which is very, very basic. So it totally varies. Some days are heavy meetings, some days are not. Some days I have time for personal development. Sometimes I have no time at all. Yesterday, I had no time at all.
What would you say you enjoy most about your job?
You know what? As much as I do really like the coding and everything like that, I love the people in the Reach strand. I absolutely love that extra work that I do. That's my. I'm going to tell them all to listen to this actually, but I generally love my time on the Reach strand. Everything we're striving to do, everything we're working towards, and how they all uplift each other. And it's very inclusive. It's very is it celebratory? Is that a word?
I think so. Yeah.
Brilliant platform. Just feels a bit like home.
What were you not told about your job that you think people should know?
Oh, I like this. So there's a lot of data science is a bit of a buzzword at the minute. Like I get a lot of people saying, how do I become a data scientist? What courses should I go on? And there's so many recruiters out there saying, we've got this role as a lead data scientist and blah, blah, blah. And most of the time, these data science roles hardly involve any actual machine learning and deep learning. A lot of industries say they use data science techniques or non-linear models, and actually they're not that advanced. And so I would say to anyone applying or looking to work in data science, you don't have to absolutely know everything about machine learning, about deep learning, because I can tell you for a fact, if you go into that job, they probably don't know about it either. And you can learn on the job, as you're doing the job, which I think is key. Something I've read is that, particularly in females, is they'll look at a resume and say, oh, I haven't got 100% of those skills, I can't apply for the job. Whereas men are more likely to say, oh, I've got 50 of them, I'll still apply. I would say to anyone, data science wise, we're all still learning. And, if you don't have, 100% of those skills, just apply anyway, because I don't know anyone that has all those skills.
Yeah, nice advice there. Is there anything from uni that you've now taken into your current role?
So I guess my art, I still do. My my slides, they're my bread and butter. So I always think you're only ever as good as how well you can articulate your complex idea. So, there's these amazing people that have such brilliant ideas, but they can't convey them. And if you can't convey them and you can't convince key stakeholders of these brilliant ideas, they're not going to come to fruition. So one thing I do is I hone in on presentation. I make sure what I'm presenting looks good, is clear, is concise. So I suppose, I use my art side and aesthetics to really try and make the technical side shine, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense.
And do you think that's what kind of motivated the more social media side of what you do, the Maths Chelsea account and things like that?
Yeah, definitely. It was, if you look in maths textbooks, I'm already hitting the snooze button. They're so boring. They're so black and white. They're so, they're not diverse at all. I remember, you might have seen it from studying maths, how many theorems are by Cauchy, by, whoever. They're all men. They're all theorems by men. It's just this general reaffirming that this is a male subject, and the textbooks also reaffirm that it's boring. So I was like, right, how can I take these complex subjects, well, in the eyes of GCSE students, how can I take these complex math subjects, make them a bit nicer to look at, a bit more bearable, and a bit more accessible? And so that began the maths worksheets that I create, the maths YouTube videos, and then I'm constantly trying to evolve and make sure I'm staying up to date. And so the coding side of my social media slowly come into it as well, because I found there's a lot of kids that are going, okay, yeah, you're teaching us this maths and stuff, but what can I use it for? And maybe sometimes I explain it, sometimes I don't, but I'm saying, well, I use it for this, for data science, which, like I said, seems to be a buzzword at the minute. But so I guess it's all, it has the art side. Bringing that to my job has spawned then into, maybe I'll try social media. I try it. I'm not consistent. That's my thing. It's hard to be consistent.
Neither am I. It is hard. It is hard. Would you say with coding you need a degree in it, or is there a point along the way where you can sort of learn it on the job or learn it on your own?
Definitely. So you do not need to go to university if you don't want to learn coding. There's so many amazing boot camps out there that you can attend. I actually am a self-taught. I use Python, but I'm self-taught. So, okay, I might have crafted out time in my day job to learn it. So that's a bit of a privilege there, but no one taught it me, and I have this job and I'm self-taught. So I would say to anyone, look at these. There's so many free online courses. They're on YouTube. They're on Kaggle. They're on Code Academy. Get involved in competitions on Kaggle. These competitions are like someone gives you data and you have a problem, like we want to make a model that predicts such and such from this data, and people go away and try and build the best model. All that data is still there. The competition might not be live, but you can still go experiment with it. There's so much free material out there that you can learn from. And I don't even know how many data science courses there are at the minute. I know there's a lot of people wanting to get into it. I don't know how many there are. They could be oversubscribed. So why not try the self-taught path as well?
Yeah, sounds a good idea.
Yeah, I thought that's pretty good advice. So, Chelsea, what are your plans for the future?
So, as I said earlier on, I'm constantly thinking, what am I creating this year? What am I launching this year? What am I loving this year? I loved it for a few years, but my love for Formula One is just, I don't know what it is. I absolutely love it. I love the technical side. I love like stuff like the simulation. I love the engineering. It really intrigues me. So my aim is to work in Formula One. That is like this is what I would love for the future. I'm like, Zach Brown, if you're listening, at McLaren, I'm here, and I'm ready to be a data scientist for the papayas, yes, or even Christian Horner at Red Bull. I'm here. I'd like to learn from Andreas Seidel, but yeah, there are all these like tech guys that are absolutely amazing, and I'd love to learn from them. So, just aim high. I might not get there, probably won't. It's very hard to get into Formula One, but you can dream, can't you?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Why not you?
Yeah.
Why not you? Now, for the most important part of the podcast. What is one piece of advice you would give to students out there that are wanting to get into a career in STEM?
So I'm going to steal it. It's not my advice. It's one that I've read, but that's still advice, right? I recently read Stephen Bartlett's book.
Love him. Love him.
I love him. He in his book he spoke about skill stacking, and it really resonated with me. So he basically said, don't try and be the absolute best at one thing. What you should try and aim for is to be proficient at a number of different things, and make sure those things are quite separate. So for instance, I could sit here or in life, and I could try and be the best data scientist ever, the best. First of all, I'll probably fail. And second, if I was, that's all I'd ever be, the best data scientist. And I'd never get there. It'd be really difficult. However, if I just try and be a good data scientist, but also a good digital artist, well, how many people are good at both of those? And what it almost does is it actually propels you to mastery level, because those subjects are so diverse. You don't have many people in both. Therefore, you'll naturally become a bit of the cream of the crop. So skill stacking is what I say. Find all the things that you're good at, and don't try and just be good at one thing. Own the fact and relish in the fact that you were good at multiple things. So I used to feel really bad about, I always thought I was the jack of all trades but master of none. It used to bring me down, and I had an awful interview once where someone basically said to me, you study in maths 1 minute and then you're going on to art the next. How do we know you're not just going to do the same for this role? Oh God, and I was young, and it really struck me, and I felt awful, and I felt awful for a long time after about that. And now I realise actually what I've got in terms of my love for maths and my love for art is something actually really nice, and I'm so thankful that I've got both of those interests. And what I say to other people is, find all those interests, all those things that you're good at, and together be good at all of them. Don't try and master one of them, just be good at all of them, and you'll see that you'll naturally just rise to the cream of the crop kind of thing. So yeah, skill stacking, really sat with me, and that is my number one advice.
Well, that's very sound advice, in my opinion.
Top tier advice, definitely, 100%.
Well, that's the end of today's episode and the end of season 2. We hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have, and make sure you subscribe and give us a 5-star review.
This has been I'd Quit But I'm Broke, the careers podcast brought to you by Student Beans, and we've been your hosts, Matt Kerridge and Grace McIntosh. Make sure you follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Student Beans to get the latest info on this podcast.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.